With Halloween just around the corner, it's time for a spooky history in metal video. And when it comes to metal, there is nothing more scary than black metal. Well, maybe except for Turiza's 2013, but not even I am brave enough to listen to that again. Instead, we turn to a true black metal original, a Swedish semi-solo project of musical mastermind Quorthon. Today's topic is so grim that this evil genre pioneer chose to name his band after the person in question. The Blood Countess Elizabeth Bathory. Indeed, Quorthon did not just use her as an inspiration for a truly true band name, but also dedicated a song on the 1987 album Under the Sign of the Black Mark to Elizabeth, called Woman of Dark Desires. Born in August 1560 as the daughter of Baron George VI Bathory and Baroness Anna Bathory, who held considerable power in Eastern Europe, Elizabeth had what you could call a pretty normal 16th century noble Hungarian childhood. That means a Protestant church education and occasional cases of falling sickness, which is nowadays known as epilepsy. Foreshadowing the sanguine tragedies that would follow her life's path, a common treatment for seizures back in the day was to smear the blood of healthy humans on the lips of the patients. We don't know for sure if this was done to Elizabeth, especially because her entire life is hidden behind a thick veil of rumors with all kinds of motivation, popular culture myths, and missing contemporary documentation. I'll try to highlight any major disputed uncertainties in the video. Just keep in mind that the entire topic is subject to a heavy speculation. A good example is a story that came up after Elizabeth had already died, according to which she received a child from a farmer boy when she was only 13. There are no official records and numerous possible profiters of this theory. But then again, it is quite possible that her noble family would keep such tales secret as long as they could, if they really happened. Moving on from her childhood, which was rather short back then, Elizabeth married Count Franek Nadasti in 1575, forming a political relationship that combined both their families' lands into a large area under their control. Her husband spent a lot of time on the road away from their home castle at Savar, so it fell to Elizabeth to tend to the people, which meant protecting them from the Ottomans, providing them with food and shelter, and, very important, healing their injuries and sicknesses. Before Nadasti died in 1604, he stopped by at the castle often enough for the aristocratic couple to produce at least 5 children, most of which became powerful players in the Eastern Europe Game of Thrones.
Now,
I hear you ask,
that's all nice and well, but you said something about Halloween. 16th century wedding ideals and epilepsy treatments might be a little off-putting, but when is it gonna get scary?
Okay. So, just so you know what you're signing up for, we have some cases of brutal mass murder coming up. If we look at the lyrics of the song, we can see stuff about Bathory selecting victims for the night and innocent blood. At least, those were the rumors that spread along the roads of Hungary. Hast thou heard of the Lady Bathory? Oh, indeed. How she killeth the innocent maidens to bathe in their blood, for her eternal youth to retain. Okay, now that's probably not what they said, and not just because they didn't speak English. Accusations regarding vampiric rituals that involve a hot tub of virgin's blood and permanently cancelling her subscription to death are probably the result of an afterwards mythification, not actual beliefs that Elizabeth was confronted with. Quorthon doesn't do all that much to help clarify this, but hey, who can blame him? The blood-crazed beauty image just works too well not to use it. However, invoking this image is likely not entirely unjustified, because indeed, there were rumors and accusations among the commoners, the clergy, and even the lords and ladies of the time. But if we want to get close to an idea of what really might have happened, we have to differentiate a bit further. The rumors about Elizabeth being a bloodthirsty killer had started to spread around the turn of the century, with an official public accusation by a Protestant Lutheran priest around 1603. Apparently, girls of noble families that were sent to Bathory for education rarely returned, and if they did, it was in a box. Realizing the problem would not disappear on its own, Hungarian king and emperor of the Holy Roman Empire, Matthias II, sent his highest representative in Hungary, György Thorso, to investigate the issues in 1610. Thorso's henchmen confirmed their suspicion about Elizabeth being a brutal mass murderer by hearing over 300 witnesses, who all heard what was going on from their relatives or neighbors, but never actually saw anything themselves. Now, again, we have to be careful, as no documents recording any complaints about missing or murdered people in the area survived from the time. This doesn't mean that they never existed, but it seems quite unlikely, with respect to the sheer amount of alleged killings, that not a single record should have endured the centuries. Deciding that he had heard enough, Thorso confronted Bathory in her home castle of Sestje on New Year's Eve, 1612. As Bathory, the band, informs us, this was the moment where her way of life came to light. Although commonly believed, Thorso did not catch Bathory red-handed, covered in blood while torturing a victim, but rather at dinner. His surprise visit did find a dead girl in the castle, as well as a dying one with multiple injuries. But historians believe that there might have been a misinterpretation, as the two quote-unquote victims could just as well be patients of Elizabeth that sadly didn't heal all that well. Remember, it was still her responsibility to take care for the sick among her people. But Thorso wouldn't have any of it, and declared her guilty of murder. I am not quite sure where the 60 bodies found in the lyrics come from, but the highest cited number of deaths caused by Elizabeth Bathory is about 650. The punishment carried out was to lock her up in the brick wall cell. At least, that's what Thorso wrote to the king, and Quorthon wrote in the song. Other sources claim that she was just confined to the castle. But in any case, she spent her last years in capture until Elizabeth Bathory died in 1614. As I said, the real course of events is highly opaque. A great many historians nowadays believe that the process was a fabricated one, with made-up accusations about the torture and killings. Around the unruly turn of the centuries, powers shifted in Europe, and it's quite possible that Bathory fell victim to a plot. The Habsburg Empire likely viewed her as a thorn in their flesh. Thorso would gain an influence once the wealthy and powerful woman had been removed from her position, and His Grace the Holy Roman Emperor Matthias II also had a motive to get rid of Bathory, as he owed her a lot of money. Many folklore tales and pop culture references have further diluted the events since then. There is no comprehensive evidence to back up a fully coherent story, but in my opinion the possibility of a larger conspiracy in place even contributes to the eeriness and mystery behind the life and deeds of Elizabeth Bathory. Now, I could have chosen many bands for this topic, among them the famous Venom and the countless cover versions of their song Countess Bathory, Ghosts Elizabeth, or Nachtblut's Blutgräfin, that all highlight slightly different aspects of the story. However, I think it's fair to give this one to Bathory, for once because it's an awesome song from a really important album, and you know, the guy named his band after the lady. Also, in my opinion, this version of the song has the least exaggeration of the theme, a strength of its relative vagueness in the lyrics. All in all, it definitely leans toward the maniac murder version of the tale, rather than the battle of political wits and propaganda. But in general, even though I love a good tale of political scheming, especially against the black metal backdrop, the horror baroness and her song really give me the goosebumps. So, good work, Quorthon. I hope I didn't spook you away. If you made it to this point, thank you for watching. I would be particularly excited if you had any feedback on the video, and as always, any suggestions for the upcoming themes. See you next time, and until then, stay true.